Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. Man, I feel good about today's show. I feel awesome about it. One, because T.J. Moe is here in studio with me, and Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell, is just around the corner. And then following Steve Kim, Shemeka Michelle, just around the corner. And man, do we have some great topics, and we have a lot of them today that we will get into. March Madness TV ratings, Colin, Cowherd, and Jay Bilas disagree with me and a lot of other people on name, image, and likeness. Nick Wright has started a gossip rumor about Kevin Durant going to the Celtics. Shannon Sharpe wants a journalist to protect Doc Rivers. Russell Wilson signed with the Giants. Shedeur Sanders, with Russell Wilson going to the Giants, will Shedeur Sanders slip down the draft board now that perhaps the Giants don't need a quarterback at number 3? Stefon Diggs signed with the Patriots. There's a cornerback debate going on between Asante Samuel, Deion Sanders, and Shannon Sharpe. And diets are racist. That conversation has bubbled up over social media because of Brittney, Big Crunk. The Big Crunk professor, Brittney Cooper, says diets are racist. There's a LaTarsha Brown that's on somebody's city council, and she put a noose on her desk, and at some point, we just have to, anytime there's a noose involved in any of these racial deals, we just should assume it's a hoax. Most people don't know how to make a noose, and so they're just not making them and throwing them on desks. But anyway, we'll talk about that. And Jasmine Crockett continues her ghetto routine and is in trouble for making fun of Greg Abbott. And so we'll discuss all of that. I'm going to start with the NCAA tournament, but before I do any of that, I want to talk to you about, and you've heard me talk about, my home buying and home renovation process. I'm all moved into my new home. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. You know, we're still doing a few little things around the house, but I'm excited. But what I did not talk to you guys about was, I've talked to you about the long renovation process. I didn't talk to you about the long process to buy a home and the long process to find the right real estate agent before I landed on Brandy, who got me into the perfect home. And I haven't told you that I'm halfway upset with Glenn Beck, because Glenn Beck has a company called Real Estate Agents I Trust that would have shortened the entire process for me in terms of finding the right real estate agent. They've done all the vetting, they've done all the work, and Glenn Beck could have turned me on to this at the very beginning, and it would have taken me an entire year to find the right real estate agent and the right home. You don't have to make the mistake that I made, because I'm going to actually tell you about Glenn's company, Real Estate Agents I Trust. It pairs you with the top-selling real estate agents in your area. This is someone who knows the best practices, someone who understands the crazy housing market, someone who's a team leader and a closer, someone you can trust. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home, or both, get in touch with them. You'll see what I mean. Real Estate Agents I Trust, the name says it all. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com. Glenn Beck, his guys will hook you up. They could have hooked me up. Maybe I'll buy another home, and, well, I got Brandy now. But anyway, Real Estate Agents I Trust. Let me get right into the topic of the day, in my view. It's the NCAA tournament, and there are all these reports of record ratings. Oh, my God. March Madness is just going wild. Everybody's watching March Madness. These are the most watched NCAA tournament first round weekend since 1993. I don't buy it. I think they're lying to us. You'll never convince me otherwise. Call me a conspiracy theorist. Call me a cuckoo bird. I got my tinfoil hat on. They're lying. And they know they're lying. And I get why they're lying. You know, their advertisers are paying these enormous fees to advertise for these games, and they need to redo these contracts and re-up and set right. And so they're justifying all this money that they're spending on these basketball games. But you'll never convince me that the NCAA tournament right now, this bad, no upset tournament, this tournament that has eliminated the Cinderella story. And you heard me talk about and go off on this on Monday, that this tournament that is now the antithesis of Americana and traditional American values. The first rounds, the first weekend of the NCAA tournament is always about, hey, the little guys slayed the big guys and they made it to the Sweet 16. And it was this glowing example of, like, in America, it's the land of opportunity. And you don't have to have the best resources to make it. But they're trying to convince you and us that, oh, man, we're averaging 8 million viewers. This is better than anything we've ever seen before. I know you don't know any of the players other than Cooper Flagg. I know that half the players wear their hair in some sort of feminine hairstyle that makes you think they're WNBA players or college women players, but you love it. You love all the tattoos. You love all the guys with the Betty Rubble hairstyles. You love it. It's awesome. You're watching more of this than ever before. No, you're gambling on it more than ever before. You have more access to a television than at any time in the history of the planet. Our televisions are on our phones. We carry them everywhere. It's just easier to watch, and there are more people in America, and there are more people addicted to gambling, and because of inflation and because we've shipped all the jobs overseas, there are more Americans trying to garner extra money through gambling. And our gambling addiction and the availability to watch TV on your phone, on your iPad. Look, when I was growing up, there was one group TV in the living room, and then there was a second television in my brother's room that was much smaller, and it was black and white, and there was a color TV in the living room. And so people had to make real choices. I can either watch this or I can watch this. We only got one TV, and everybody's got to watch the same thing. But now there's a television in virtually every room in every house, and so it's just, things are just more available, and you can watch it. You're driving home, you can watch it on your on your drive home on your phone. And so there's more availability, and because of the gambling thing, there's more necessity to watch these games, but the games are less relevant, less interesting, drive less conversation. And did I mention relevant, less relevant? Did I say that? Less real traction, less ability to capture the imagination of the American public. Here's what I want let me reduce it down to this. Water cooler conversation. The NCAA tournament used to drive, and do we still have water cooler conversations at workplaces? Do we still sit around at work around a coffee machine or whatever and gossip and things like that? I think we still do. We do it here. And there's less conversation about the NCAA tournament and what's going on in March Madness. And there's less, this is just my gut feeling. You tell me if I'm right or wrong, and Steve Kim and T.J. will join me here in a second. There's less bracket madness. Last year, we filled out brackets here as a team building camaraderie deal, blah, blah. This year, it didn't even call. We're so busy with roll call and so busy with all the other stuff we got going on. We just didn't do it. And who even knows who to pick? And I think that's true across the country with most sports fans, and so they can tell me whatever they want about the ratings. I don't buy it. This NCAA tournament, in terms of relevancy and traction and conversation driving and starting, it ain't it. The only thing we're talking about is, hey, all these players transfer around and we don't know, and the transfer portal's going on in the middle of the tournament. Guys are declaring for the transfer portal in the middle of the tournament, and Cinderella is dead. And so they can dress it up however they want, and they can send out all these press releases. Oh, it's more popular than ever. They're lying. Steve Kim, Korean Cosell, welcome back to the show. Am I right, wrong, crazy? Steve Kim, well, there we go. Am I right, wrong, crazy, what?
Well, what's that old phrase? There's lies, damn lies, and then television ratings and statistics. Because I think you mentioned it, I think last year, don't they actually change the way the ratings are now procured and how they measure who was watching and how many? Right. So I'm suspicious about this because there was a time, again, where I was a really big college basketball fan. Not as much as I was college football, but when it came down to, let's say, mid-January all the way till the first weekend of April, I was engaged. I liked it. I stayed involved. I have not filled out a bracket in at least 20 years. I don't even do it as a lark. I'm being dead serious about it. I think the last time I filled out a bracket might have been the team with Jason Williams and Duke when they won it in 2001, when they played Maryland in the Final Four. And they
Jay Williams. You talking about Jay Williams?
Yeah, Jay Williams.
Back then.
Oh, he was called Jason back then?
He went by Jason when he was at Duke. Didn't change it until he got to the pros because of the other Jason Williams.
Oh, because of white chocolate. All right, go ahead. So
the other one
go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve. Yeah.
Right, there was another Jason Williams that shot a limo driver. I don't know how much that had to do with this. But
I remember that one too, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then they beat Mike Dunleavy's Junior's Arizona team in a really good finals matchup. But, you know, I listened to what Jay Bilas had to say, and I respect Jay. And I didn't actually find myself disagreeing wholeheartedly with what he said. He is correct. This could be a one-year aberration. Let's see this 3-5 years down the line. But Jason, when we say
Steve, I know you're the host of the show.
Yes,
and I appreciate it. But you just transitioned to Jay Bilas, correct? Am I following you correctly?
Well, you brought him up earlier.
Let me play the. Let me play. I didn't bring up Jay. Oh yeah, I did. But let me play the Jay Bilas clip so the whole audience knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All you got to do is tell me what you want to do, and we'll do it.
Well,
you know.
I just did.
Again, let's play the Jay Bilas clip so we all know what Steve's talking about. Go ahead.
There's a great deal of discussion about the makeup of this year's Sweet 16, that all the 16 teams in the Sweet 16 come from 4 conferences, 7 from the Southeastern Conference, 4 each from the Big Ten and the Big 12, and then 1 being Duke from the ACC. And there's discussion that, well, this is a result of NIL and the transfer portal. One data point does not make a trend. This is just 1 year. Last year, we had a ton of upheaval and chaos and upsets. This year, not as many, but remember, Drake won a first-round game. St. Mary's, Gonzaga won a first-round game. New Mexico, Colorado State, and Colorado State was a bucket away from reaching the Sweet 16. It took a last-second shot by Maryland to keep them out of the Sweet 16. McNeese won a first-round game. UC San Diego, a trendy upset pick against Michigan, lost by a bucket in their game. And people also tend to forget or not emphasize that 2 years ago, Houston was in the American Athletic Conference. BYU was in the West Coast Conference. Arizona was in the Pac-12. It's been 24 years since Ole Miss was in a Sweet 16. It's been 14 years since BYU was in a Sweet 16. One data point does not make a trend. This is not the ruination of college basketball. It's not the ruination of the tournament. That stuff doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And by the way, ratings are up for the regular season and in the NCAA tournament. It's just 1 year, and we've seen years like this before.
There we go. Ratings are up. There's nothing to
Okay.
see here, guys. It's
Hold on.
all great. And Gonzaga, a national powerhouse. Now, anyway, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Hold on, let's put some context on this. When Jay Bilas says ratings are up from what though? We have to put some context. This reminds me of that previous administration that ran our country into the ground. That said, inflation's down, gas prices are down. They're all the way down to $6.25 a gallon. They're at $6.35 just last week. So again, context. I would like to ask Jay, up from what? Because that is important. What's the ground floor we're working at? Are you talking about 1985, 95, 2005, 2015? By the way, though, eggs are coming down. Okay, so I have to ask you guys a question, though. What do we define as Cinderella? Because very few Cinderellas actually win it all or even go to the Final Four. I always thought a Cinderella was they get to the Sweet 16, but for the most part, it's about pulling off one upset. And the one that I think of the most, because of where I live, 1996, I believe, UCLA, as a defending national champions, lost to Princeton. They lost to an Ivy League school, and Pete Carroll was the one guy that nobody wanted to face. When they pulled off that upset, I think everyone knew they're not going any further, but they're a Cinderella. So again, what do you define as a true Cinderella?
Well, and let me tell you what you need to have for a true Cinderella that Jay and everybody's ignoring. You got to have Prince Charming. You got to have a great, great team. That UCLA team that you're talking about was a great team. People knew players on that team. And so when Cinderella knocks off Prince Charming, it's a big deal. There are no Prince Charmings. Maybe Duke with Cooper Flag. But if Colorado State, if they knocked off Maryland, that's not Cinderella. There's no Prince Charming. Who's Maryland? Seriously.
Well, okay.
And so,
but Jason, all right, so the biggest Cinderella, well, there's two of them. I've never gotten over these because I like both teams. 85 Georgetown was thought to be invincible. And when they lost to Villanova, it was stunning. It took like a 78% shooting night from them to do it. But Jason, Villanova was in the Big East. And in fact, they had played Georgetown kind of tough in the regular season, at least one game at the Spectrum that I recall. And even that team had a few guys like Ed Pinckney that played in the NBA. So that's like a Power 4 team today. Then you go to the game that'll live in infamy. I can't even watch it when it comes on for 30 seconds. 1991, my beloved UNLV running Rebs against those dastardly Duke white guys in Grant Hill. And if you look at Duke, though, they make it sound like they're the gutty little Blue Devils. Jason, they had like 7 guys make the NBA. If you actually look at that roster. I mean, so, again, I actually think that what Bilas says is correct. If you get a couple of upsets, and if you get 1 or 2 teams that make the Sweet 16, that's basically the ceiling. That's basically the ceiling.
Avoiding my Prince Charming argument.
Here's
Well, there is no Prince Charming. No.
I agree, so you can't have Cinderella.
2018, UMBC took down the #1 overall seed in Virginia. There's we've had real Cinderella. You would have to consider Duke. I mean, look, there are some really good teams this year. They're just not teams you generally expect to be really good. Auburn, Florida, right? Name
a player.
I can't name the players because I don't watch
Charles
college basketball.
Barkley.
But there are people who watch college basketball who know these.
Look. Okay,
Chuck
let me give
Person.
you. There you go. I'm going. You got to have Prince Charming, and so I'm going to go to 1990. Something very intimate to me. To make it to the Sweet 16, the Ball State Cardinals with Paris McCurdy, Curtis Kidd, Chandler Thompson, good players, but not name brands. They knocked off Gary Payton in Oregon State. You knock off a legendary, big-time player, All-American, on the cover of Sports Illustrated,
Player of the year.
headed to the NBA in a long career. You knock them off. That's a Cinderella story. And I get what UMBC did That was fine. But we've already been on this trend because you can't name a player on that Virginia team, that UMBC. And what I'm talking about
Ralph
is
Sampson?
when a great player leads a great program and gets knocked off by I gotta look, and maybe I'm wrong on this one here, but who did Bryce Drew and Valpo knock off?
Valpo. Mississippi? On that inbound
Yeah, it may
play.
not have been.
Was it
Yeah, it was Ole Miss.
Mississippi?
It was Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
look at
So
me,
that
Asian
yeah,
Billy Packer here. Look at me.
There you go.
Hold on, though. We've already been on this trend, like you're saying.
Yes.
And we've still said there were Cinderellas until this year.
No, I got it. But I've been complaining like, hey, they're killing college basketball. This is where I saw it heading. Where we're at now. Jay is like, hey, there's one data point. And I'm like, no, these data points, we've been ignoring the data points that said this is where we would end up.
Fair. The other part of this is that college basketball, at least during my lifetime, since the NBA has destroyed it with the
One and done.
One and done.
it's been so much about these coaches.
Yes.
And the coaches are all gone now, too.
No Prince Charming.
Yes. No, because even Tony Bennett at that time was a big-name coach for Virginia. Who's the Virginia coach now? Coach K's gone. Roy Williams is gone.
Tom Izzo's the only thing left.
Yes.
The only coach most
Guys.
people can name is, Dan Hurley now that he's a bully and a jerk.
Well, guys.
Anyway, go ahead.
Here's what I find alarming, and I don't like the Walmarting of the tournament for both football and basketball. When you allow one conference to have 14 teams, you are automatically lowering the odds of any Cinderella, because at that point, that means a mid-major team gets edged out that might have finished third or fourth instead of, 14th. So once you make it basically a Power 4 invitational, guys, there is no room for Cinderella. They're not even invited to the ball.
Let me play. I want your reaction to this Colin Cowherd clip as well. I'm surprised, as the host of the show, you didn't call for this, Steve. Let's play SOT number 2.
The ratings are in for the first weekend. Viewership for the first day, all-time high. By the way, there are no have-nots. It's all power conference teams in the Sweet 16. So remember the NIL? Everybody's terrified with the NIL. NIL is actually great for college basketball because it keeps some of the better players in college for another year, like a Zach Edey, and then the big brands can cherry pick mid-major teams that nobody watches on television and get better faster. Everybody thought the NIL was going to help the little guy maybe. No, made the rich richer. Yes, America likes to watch Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, Michigan State, Arizona more than Drexel, Lipscomb, and Wofford. Who knew?
This is the worldview
Elite.
disconnect between me and Colin Cowherd. And I'm not trying to beat up on Colin, but I'm just keeping it real. The guys are, the rich get richer, and they steal from the have-nots. This is a good thing. Don't you love it? And again, this connects to my entire argument. Look what they're doing to American culture. We're celebrating the exploitation of the have-nots and the little guys.
Well,
This is a good thing. Unbelievable. Your thoughts, Korean Cosell.
Wait, all time? Really? So this past weekend had better ratings across the board than the 80s and 90s when there was no streaming. You basically had the basic networks and cable and no streaming outlets. Okay, I'll take his word, but Whitlock, your former partner, said the most baffling thing he said since he started uttering that mantra, it's the party of joy. I mean, I like these guys. This is the party of joy. Again, is that the approved messaging from his ivory tower? Really? Again, I'm going to show my age, which my hair does, by the way. It's filled in real nice, hasn't it, guys? Back when we grew up, Jason, the elite college basketball player was actually a real thing. Ralph Sampson, Patrick Ewing, Michael, Jeffrey Jordan. We can go down the line. Bobby Hurley, Christian Laettner, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon. guys of that ilk you knew. Do you really think people outside of the Big Ten region, be honest, guys, and TJ, you're younger. When was the last time you thought of Zach Edey, if ever? Was Zach Edey ever on your mind?
Yeah, there's a bunch of annoying Purdue fans that live in Missouri, so yes.
Okay, all right,
I've heard of Zach Edey.
I grew up a Purdue fan, but I get your point, Steve. I just Cowherd's worldview here. I'm watching on TV in the sports world, and the sports thing has always been a David versus Goliath. That's always been a part of sports. There's every coach goes in, hey guys, we don't have as much talent as them. We don't have the facilities that they have. We don't blah, blah, blah. But if we stick together and do these, that's always been the story of sports that we celebrate. And I'm listening to one of the most influential people in sports media say, no, this is actually better. The rich are getting richer, and we're taking from the have-nots. My mind is blown.
Your overall point fits wonderfully because everybody watched this past election. Democrats have abandoned the working class, and now the working class is abandoning Democrats. That is what this is. They're happy to watch the elites continue to be more elite and cherry pick the few little things that they have left. Colin Cowherd is no fan of Robin Hood. I mean, it's just. I wonder. This is what
Robin the Hood, I think, is Robin the Hood.
This is something I was thinking about earlier. Is it actually better for college sports? So let's just say they're not lying about the ratings. I tend to think they are, but let's say they're not lying about the ratings. Well, if you've got a traditional football school like Auburn, and I love Bruce Pearl, and they've certainly done better and become more of a basketball powerhouse since he's been there. But a traditional football school, is it better to have 30% of the Auburn fans watching, which is still infinitely more than 100% of Holy Cross watching? Is it better for basketball to have a tiny fraction of the Auburn fans watching? Because that's where the ratings come from. You get these bigger schools, and obviously you're tuning in to watch your school, but it's people who don't care that much. Hey, it's a football school anyway. Can't wait till football season in the Iron Bowl, but yeah, we'll watch Bruce Pearl in the meantime. That is what's happening instead of Holy Cross, who will live and die by the one shot they have as a 16 seed, as the last team to get into the tournament. I don't know if that's true this year or not. I haven't paid enough attention. But that has been the history of it. It was much better for basketball to give those people some hope. Your actual alma mater that you went to, not everybody goes to a state school, or in this case now, a Power 4 school where it seems mandated for you to matter at all. So I just think it's worse. Whether or not he's arguing about the ratings, I don't care about the ratings. I think they're a lie anyway. I care about what's actually good for the sport. And so this is an extension of them trying to argue NIL is good for the sport. See, look, everything's wonderful. Transfer portal, great, freedom. It's all a lie.
You have inadvertently made an argument justifying the ratings. And it's like, hey, we've reached out to the biggest fan bases in America, and those fan bases are watching, and a Ball State, a Valparaiso, all these little mid-majors, they have a passionate fan base, but it's much, much smaller. Mm-hmm. And so we're reaching out to the big fan bases, and that's why we have the ratings we have. And that has never, America isn't supposed to be, the true America shouldn't be reaching out to the haves and making things easier for the haves. They should be messaging to the have-nots, you have a chance, and we're going to keep a lane open for you. It's amazing that this type of conversation can go, that we've moved so far in the conversation as it relates to sports and our understanding of what is good, what is bad. This is the same deal. It's similar to, and it's a different strand of, hey, you see that guy over there with bat and balls that's wearing high heels and a dress? He's actually a woman. Mm-hmm. You know, the opposite things are now true in this society. Steve, if you have a final thought, do it quick, because I got to keep it moving here.
No, I've decided on this show we need to keep it moving. Proceed.
Thank you. Well, that's why I deferred it. Before we move to a couple of other basketball-related topics, guys, you guys have been watching me deal with my weight problem, and we've partnered with a group that's going to send me additional help. Lean. Lean is a tool that I'm going to incorporate into my health strategy to stop the yo-yoing. You guys have watched me lose weight, put weight back on, lose more weight, put weight back on. Everybody has this struggle. It's dangerous. Studies show that it can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. Breaking free of your yo-yo diet pattern is a main reason doctors created lean. Lean is a supplement, not an injection. You don't need a prescription. The science behind lean is very impressive. It's studied natural ingredients, target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. 1, lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar. It helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy. Listen, if you're like me and you're tired of losing weight and gaining it back, if you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace, lean was created for you and me. Let me get you started and join me on this journey with 20% off when you enter Fearless20 at takelean.com. That's promo code Fearless20 at takelean.com. I want to thank Lean for jumping on board. I can't wait to start incorporating this into my routine. We're about a week away where I'm going to start sharing with you all my weight loss journey, because I feel that confident in the direction I'm headed and the support that I'm getting. I got like a doctor scale in my home. We're going to start doing a little Wayne Whitlock segment where you guys get to go along on the journey with me and you get to hold me accountable. I would have started this earlier, but I've been so embarrassed about the weight I gained during the winter that I was trying to trim some before I got on the scale. But I got to let you guys hold me accountable. I got to share this journey with you all. I'm taking Lean along with me on this journey, so get prepared for that. All right, let me return to our man here, Steve Kim, and let's continue some basketball conversation. And I want to move to Kevin Durant and Nick Wright suggesting that Kevin Durant may get traded to the Boston Celtics. Let's play the clip of Nick Wright.
Two totally unrelated people, both of whom have reputations for knowing things that other people don't know, have said to me, watch out for Durant in Boston. It doesn't make, I don't know even the pieces that it would work, and it feels a lot like what Durant got killed for with Golden State before, so it doesn't make sense.
Be awesome.
But I've heard
And
that
that assumption is that they don't win the championship.
I guess.
Because if they were winning it, if they won it again,
They
why in the
wouldn't
world
change
would you-
anything.
Yeah,
Why not?
Yeah.
My first reaction, I just don't like the way this is unpacked. It's not unpacked in a serious way. Hey, 2 guys that I gossip with, whose gossip is usually pretty good, they were gossiping about Durant ending up with the Boston Celtics. It's unpacked in an unserious way. It seems to be clickbait, and I just can't imagine Kevin Durant wanting to do this. It would just further destroy his reputation. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Kevin Durant, if this happened, he would just become a taller version of Jimmy Jackson. I mean, he's become an absolute vagabond. Jason, what do you mean he wouldn't do it? He doesn't care at this point. Jason, if he really cared about that stuff, he never would have gone to Golden State after being the linchpin at OKC. And if you look at what has happened since he left Golden State, it's just been all over the place. So do I think he can? I guess. But to think that it's above him or beneath him at this point, no. Recent history has shown that I'd actually be more surprised if he stuck with the team going nowhere and not going to a team like the Boston Celtics.
I think,
Go ahead.
to your point about Nick Wright, who is his media idol? It's Colin Cowherd. That is exactly how Colin Cowherd delivers his messages. He always says, look, guys, I'm not a reporter. I'll leave that to Woj and the crew. You know, I just tell you what I hear. I hear things. People are usually right. Yes, right or wrong. Here's what it is. He has learned this from Colin Cowherd, and he doesn't have to answer for it being wrong because he's not a reporter. Hey, I just sit up here and gossip on a TV show every day. I came from local radio. This is what I heard. We'll find out. This is how you present things without having to ever face any consequences for being wrong.
And, it's worked because it's been trending. It's an explosive, hey, Kevin Durant to the Boston Celtics. It's unfair to some degree, I think, to Kevin Durant because people will use this as an argument to smear his reputation and just, man, the guy's just looking to cut corners. And so I don't get it. Or I actually do get it. Everything's about clicks and traction. And so.
Well, Jason, can we make this clear?
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that Nick Wright didn't spin this around to use this as another data point or evidence that why LeBron James is the greatest. And second of all, if Kevin Durant gets drugged on social media, don't worry about it. He'll have one of his 5 burner accounts to counteract all that. So he's good. He's good either way.
I actually like Kevin Durant. I think this is unfair. Steve, I want to play you another clip. This is Shannon Sharpe suggesting that Mark Spears, who works for Landscape or Anscape, the former Undefeated, the website dedicated to black sports fans at ESPN, saying that Mark Spears shouldn't have reported what Doc Rivers told him, where Doc Rivers kind of defended, like, hey, I don't get credit for being up 3-1 in playoff series. All everyone wants to talk about is how I've blown those series and not give me credit for the journey to getting up to 3. And Shannon Sharpe is basically saying, hey, man, you should have looked out for Doc Rivers. Let's play the clip.
Guys, y'all know I host Club Shay Shay. And I sit down and have a conversation with a lot of different people, Stephen A. And there are sometimes they've said things in the interview. I will ask after the interview, you said such and such a thing. Are you okay with that being left in, or do you want us to edit that out? And a lot of times they say, no, I'm fine with it. And then they'll call us a day or two later after having time to think about it and say, nah, can you remove that? Sure, no problem. Because I never want to paint anybody in a bad negative light. I'll always ask, is there anything you don't wish to talk about? And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. And in the process of saying no, as Terry Crews told me, never shake your head yes and mean no. Steve, if I'm Mark J. Spears, I'm going to ask, I say, Doc, are you sure? Are you absolutely certain you want this out there? Because do you understand how bad this is going to make you look when people read this? Because this is your words. Are you sure you want this out here? I can't believe Doc wanted that out there.
I get where Shannon Sharpe is coming from. I really do. And I get where he's coming from. Steve, I'll follow up after you and TJ perhaps chime in.
But again, Mark Spears is an old-fashioned, I'm assuming, dyed-in-the-wool journalist. And once it's on the record, it's on the record. And I have a rule. I have a lot of off-the-record conversations with the people that I cover. We gossip, we talk about things. But I always say, okay, recorder's going on now. We're interviewing. And there's an understanding, hey, whatever I say now can be used and held against me in a court of law. Okay? But Shannon, I think, to his defense, is not a journalist. He is an entertainer that likes to facilitate conversation. And I get it, because if I interview somebody, that if I put something out there that may cause me to have to check in or put my life in danger, I myself will say, hey, let's not put that in there, because quite frankly, I like my life. I get that part. But Doc Rivers just talking about, hey, I blow a lot of leads and I choke them away, I don't think it's the same thing, Jason. I think as a coach, that is probably within the proper context of what that overall conversation that Spears and Doc probably had.
Yeah, as a journalist, I think Spears did the right thing. Hey, serve your audience. And this is interesting and fascinating about Doc Rivers and his mindset. As a journalist, I also understand, and maybe Mark Spears said to Doc Rivers, hey, are you sure you're good with this? Because I just know, even when I'm interviewing people that are my adversaries, I am going to give them an opportunity to say, hey, I'd like to restate that, or if, I'd prefer to leave that out. I'm going to get, there's no one I want to hurt. If anybody's watched this show and seen me bring on Mark Lamont Hill or any of these people that I really disagree with, take who was the former Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive back that came on the show, and I thought said a lot of silly things. But I'm not into embarrassing anyone if they've agreed to consent to an interview. I'm gonna hey, these are the questions I'm gonna ask. Are you good with it? Are there things you want to avoid? And if they circle back and say, hey, I don't really like what I said here or there, as long as it's reasonable, I'm going to respect that and cut it out. If it's a case-by-case basis, but I get where Shannon's coming from.
We're making some assumptions, I think. If Doc Rivers really didn't want this out, we'd probably know about it, I would think, by now.
Yeah.
That, hey, man, I think Shannon doesn't understand the difference between having a podcast and being a journalist. I think there's very clear differences. This is a 63-year-old man who made an argument that while we think it makes him look bad, it's not threatening to anything. You didn't tell us about some mistress you had. This isn't an 18-year-old kid who's in his first interview and he's got he said the wrong things, let's help protect him. At some point he'll be a man. It's a 63-year-old man he was probably a Hall of Fame coach who has probably thought through his position and got this out there. And Marcus Spears said, yeah, okay, great. We'll write that. It might make you look bad, but hey, if you really didn't want it, and again, he's an NBA reporter, right? I'm not, okay. There is no more friendlier group of reporters in the history of the world than NBA reporters are to the NBA. There's just no way that Doc Rivers said, hey, don't put this in there, and it still got put in there.
Guys, I have a question.
Steve, I'll give you the final thought here. Go ahead.
If that was a white coach, would Shannon Sharpe have said, well, Mark Spears needs to protect him? I mean, it's just my opinion. If that was a white coach, Shannon Sharpe would be going off on that. He would not be saying Mark Spears needed to protect that guy. And here's the other thing about Doc Rivers, about how he should be given credit for it. When his name comes up for Hall of Fame consideration as a coach, and he was also a very good player, he does have a championship 2008 to his credit. But when voters look at his name, it's never going to be used as an argument for him. Well, he kept getting up 3-1 in playoff series. Well, he gets my vote. So, okay, Doc, if that's your argument, you can ride with it. I just hope they quoted you properly.
Doc is not a Hall of Fame coach. And so I would completely disagree with that.
A lot of malpractice with those playoffs.
I do think he was a good coach for a time, but he's not a Hall of Fame coach. And so there's that. Hey, we're going to move on and talk a little football. But before we do that, I want to just give us a second to reset here and do a little, probably some promotion of roll call here. You guys need to be here on May 2nd and 3rd here in Nashville, Tennessee. I hope you're preparing to be here because we have an amazing weekend planned for you. We'll be right back and switch up topics, talk a little bit about Russell Wilson going to the Giants and whether or not that's going to cause Shedeur Sanders to slip in the draft. Next. Men, it's time to rise. Our country, our faith, our future, all under attack. I'm bringing the boldest voices to Nashville. Roll Call 3.0 is your call to action. Join me, join Tucker, and let's take a stand together. May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville. I am Jason Whitlock, your host.
Went without so that he could give you an abundant life.
Young men shall utterly fall. Jason, I know you called us to preach off, but I feel like preaching up in here right about now.
I struggle with my health and weight loss most of my life, feeling sore, low energy, and having a hard time staying mentally sharp. But Relief Factor, it's changed all of that. I feel better, I move better, I think better. It's been a real transformation. And here's the thing, it's only $20 to try. If Relief Factor works for me, and I'm no easy case, it can work for anyone. Don't wait, call 1-800-4RELIEF or visit relieffactor.com. All right, welcome back, Steve. Russell Wilson is now the quarterback of the New York Giants. 1-year contract, $21 million. They have Jameis Winston as their backup. Steve, what do you think here? Is this a good move for the New York Giants?
Well, I mean, I think they should do a reality show called The Odd Couple on that quarterback room in New York. They're both on 1-year deals. That seems to signal that these are stopgaps. These are two bridge quarterbacks, and that taking a quarterback in the first round is not out of the question. I actually don't hate this move for one reason. The way Daniel Jones played last year, this is actually an upgrade. Even as inconsistent and as volatile as Jameis could be, but again, he may not be the starter, and I thought Russell was serviceable. Okay, I don't think as highly as our boy Butters does of Russell, and according to Butters, this may be the Super Bowl run for the Giants and Russell Wilson.
Why are we putting an S at the end of Butter? Everybody puts an S at the end of Butter.
Butters?
Butters. Anyway, I guess he's going apostrophe S. Butters.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so don't interrupt my show again, please. But so this is just, again, these are not 5-year contracts. These are 1-year bridge deals. I'm fine with it.
Russell Wilson to the Giants. Good move?
Irrelevant move.
There we go.
Nobody will speak about this except for in the offseason of football. It's not going to matter at all during the season. The Giants will continue to be irrelevant. It just speaks to there aren't very many good quarterbacks available ever in the NFL. You can't just go out and find one. Every once in a great while, Peyton Manning will become available in his prime after a neck surgery. Or Tom Brady will become available when it finally breaks things off with Bill Belichick. Or Aaron Rodgers, and it didn't work out, will become available. That's few and far between. Other than that, who are the guys who've left teams and made great impacts? Drew Brees? I mean, we're talking about all-time greats here who have left. There just aren't very many. You're going to have to find them in the draft. So all these bopping around after you've been no good at the end of your career, it's not going to help.
Steve, do you think this is an indication the Giants feel like, hey, there's no quarterback at number 3. There's no quarterback after Cam Ward worth taking that high. And so we're going to press pause for 1 year and then enter the draft QB sweepstakes next year when it may be a deeper stock. So my question is this an indication of no confidence vote on Shedeur Sanders?
To a certain degree, look, Shedeur is a first rounder, I guess, but does he scream to you he's an absolute top 5 pick? I don't even know if he's the second best quarterback. Jackson Dart has better physical upside. Okay, so this is not a particularly strong draft of quarterbacks. This ain't exactly 1983 here. So the Giants, look, when you're that bad, guys, it's never just one position. You, in essence, well, what do you need? A whole football team. That's basically what on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They're pretty good defensive line. I guess a few guys that could rush the passer. Everything else, they need to restock that room. They have a very bright young wide receiver, Malik Neighbors. He had a good season at times. But to me, if you take Shedeur at 3 and you plug and play and from day one, I don't believe the New York Giants are that much better, if at all.
I don't think so either. But let's ask about the New England Patriots. Are they better? They signed Stefon Diggs, 3 years, $69 million deal. They've signed this Mac Hollins, the kind of Tarzan of the NFL. I think he's the barefoot Tarzan of the NFL. They've upgraded their wide receiver room tremendously. Anyway, do we think, John Hadley told me this morning when I was kind of like, man, I don't know if I like this Stefon Diggs move. Hadley was like, no, man, the Patriots have had one of the best off seasons of any team. He thinks they're a playoff team with the additions they've made on the offense and defensive line. Yeah, argue with do we have the picture of Hadley? You know, we thought, could we put the picture of Hadley? So I want the audience to know who we're talking about. He's, we thought we were shocked that he survived this long, but he's still with the show.
This photo is the equivalent of showing the photo of you with that blue shirt on. Hadley told me this morning he got on the scale, he was 201.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Disintegrating in front of our eyes.
Justin, do we have the picture? Anyway, go ahead and respond. If we get the picture of Hadley, throw it up as Steve responds.
Guys, can I quote the elder Jim Mora? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs, they've had a really good offseason in the sense that they've worked in volume in the free agent market, got a lot of hard-nosed, tough veterans. Matt Collins is the hippie Tarzan barefoot edition of Steve Tasker. Really, really good special teams player. Here's my concern with Stefon Diggs. He's on the other side of 30, coming off a major knee injury. He's a little bit difficult and diva-esque at times. You have a young quarterback in Mac the Knife, right? Or who was it? No, they got rid of Drake May. So I looked at his numbers, guys. I didn't realize this about Stefon Diggs. He catches a lot of passes. Generally, his season, and there's Hadley looking good, looking like pale Marvin Hagler. So anyway.
He's every bit at 260 there. Every bit.
Generally, Stefon Diggs
He's not smart at any weight, but anyway, go ahead.
Generally, Stefon Diggs averages about 12 to 13 yards per catch. I don't know. Is he really a game-breaking guy that takes the top off? No, he's a possession receiver who's caught a lot of passes. But again, you're paying pretty good amount of money for a guy on the other side of 30 coming off a major knee injury.
Yeah, I'm not. You're a Patriots guy, TJ. Have they had a great offseason as Hadley suggests?
I have no idea. I was a fan of the greatest coach to ever live, and all the Hall of Fame players there at the time. I have abandoned my Patriots fandom entirely. And what I was thinking about, what he was talking about is, didn't you give Hadley a nickname once upon a time, Nostra
dumbass? Yes. He's calling him a playoff team. Yeah, he's calling him a playoff team.
I will tell you, and I like to make fun of Hadley like the best of them, probably more than anybody. Hadley is weirdly right about this kind of stuff. Let's look up next year. I'm just telling you, I've known Hadley since 2017, I think. He has these guys are going to be great. I promise you, they're a playoff team, and it happens.
Bad team.
Do you have it about Stefon Diggs at this point? $69 million? It's
all NFL's play money. The millions of dollars they've paid. I'm more worried about coming off an ACL when last year you were the number 2 receiver on a team that struggled, and you've pouted your way out of 2 other places since then. Now is that going to work? You pouted your way out of Minnesota. You pouted your way out of Buffalo. Now you were the guy that was only the number 1 receiver for a few weeks while the top guy, I think Nico Collins, got hurt first. Then you tear your ACL. Now they signed you a $70 million deal, which is the equivalent to, what, a $30 million a year a few years ago? It's all just monopoly money now. Is that going to be useful at all, particularly when Drake May? If you weren't happy with Josh Allen, you tell me you're going to be happy with Drake May? Come on.
Well, that'll be interesting. And we were thinking that Stefon was trying to get back to Buffalo, but he ends up in New England instead. Steve, I got one more topic for us. I don't know if Shannon Sharpe, Asante Samuel, and Deion Sanders have been in this long-winded, days-long debate about whether Asante Samuel is in the same category as Deion, and he's got stats to back it up, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's watch Shannon Sharpe talking about Asante Samuels and Deion Sanders.
I love you. I think you're phenomenal, but you're not in time's realm. That's not even close. You're not. Nobody will ever say Asante Samuel and Deion Sanders in the same breath. You were fabulous. That's the greatest corner to ever put on pads and a helmet. You were a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
You won Super Bowls. You got 50-plus interceptions.
Yes, sir.
You're just not time, and it's okay.
Here's Asante Samuels. I think he put out this tweet or post on social media comparing stats between he and Deion. Deion Sanders, 188 games, 53 interceptions, 5 playoff interceptions, 2 Super Bowls. Asante Samuels, 153 games, 51 interceptions, 7 playoff interceptions, 2 Super Bowls. Does he have a case here? I don't think so, because people just didn't throw at Deion Sanders. And I do think people did occasionally throw at Asante Samuels. So just comparing statistics, I think, can be misleading.
Again, lies, damn lies, and statistics. Jason, Asante was an excellent player. He was elite for a stretch. But, I mean, and I think the argument started over a particular technique in terms of footwork. And I understood the arguments both men had. But I think if I recall correctly, Asante was like an off-man corner. He was not a true press corner. Deion is the ultimate press guy who could play anything. And I agree with Shannon, though. When it comes to the Mount Rushmore of cornerbacks, people may not have primetime number 1, but that face is on that monument every single time. Now, the other 3, we can all mix and match. But the only question with Deion, is it the Jerry curl version or when he got the high top fade, a little bit more of the fade? Yeah, so he had different haircuts. He always had the 4-2. I have never seen a player shut down a half of a field the way he did. You could basically say that's the number 1 guy. You travel with them and you're out of the game plan. And I'll just wrap it up like this. In the mid-'90s, when the Dallas Cowboys and the Niners were the 2 best teams in the National Football League, in successive years, 94 then 95, Jason, his presence basically decided which franchise was going to lift the Lombardi trophy. No cornerback has ever had that type of impact.
I'm not going to go as far as you just did there as it relates to the Cowboys and 49ers. I'm not going to go.
What do you mean?
But I am going to put Deion number 1 on my cornerback list. And I'm going to call him 1A. I would call 1B Rod Woodson. If you put Rod Woodson at number 1, I got no problem with it. Rod Woodson was a shutdown corner. He was a Defensive Player of the Year. I believe he finished runner-up back-to-back years. He was at age 28 and 29. He was Defensive Player of the Year one year and number 2 in Defensive Player of the Year the next year. I think he 6 times first-team All-Pro. I just think it's either Rod Woodson or Deion Sanders. I'm going to go Deion at this moment, but Rod Woodson was much better in run support than Deion Sanders, and I think Rod Woodson could put a case together. He was just as good in coverage. I would put Charles Woodson number 3, Darrell Revis number 4, and the Mike Haynes number 5. Those are my 5 greatest cornerbacks of all time. Steve, you have a list that I tend to disagree with, but go ahead.
Well, of course. Well, mine happens to be correct. That's why. And by the way, with Rod Woodson, you can make an argument he was a better all-around football player because he actually made the Pro Bowl as a safety a couple times and much more physical. But what I would say, Rod Woodson was a little bit of a gambler. Double moves used to give him a lot of problems. So he would get beat over the top a little bit more often than Prime. Prime's number 1. Number 2 is Mike Haynes. Mike Haynes is the smoothest cornerback I've ever seen. You'll never see a cornerback that could get on a hip of a receiver and run the route with them. And he had great ball skills and legitimate 4.3 speed. Rod Woodson, I think, is in most people's Mount Rushmore. Mel Blount was a generation ahead of his time physically. And again, I get it. They played in a different rule where you could really jam receivers down the field. And then number 5, Darrell Green, the longevity. The guy runs a 4.3 right now at age 60, whatever. It was tough for me to leave out Herb Adderley and Dick Knight Train Lane. Very tough guys to leave out for me.
Charles Woodson not being on your list is an indictment of yourself.
What do you mean?
Darrell Green, love him to death, love the longevity. He's the Art Monk of corners, but even better than Art Monk.
My
but
God.
the guy
He's
first team All-Pro one time, Steve. One time. He was first team. These other guys we're talking about, Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson, Deion Sanders, these guys were Defensive Players of the Year. Mm-hmm. And, multiple first-team All-Pros. Darrell Green, long time. All-Pro one time. Roger Worley, actually 3 times first-team All-Pro, I think 6 Pro Bowls. Roger Worley didn't have the longevity, but his resume is right there with better than Darrell Green's, actually.
Zoo grad.
Yeah.
That's that was our claim to fame, white corner.
Yeah.
Roger Worley back in the day. The guy that I would add to your list here is Aeneas Williams, who was unbelievable.
Yes,
I
he
can't
was.
speak to most of the people that you get. These are older school guys. I watched Aeneas Williams come over from Arizona, and now he never won a Super Bowl with the Rams, but in 2001 he was unbelievable. 8-time Pro Bowler. Played 14 years in the NFL, and then he switched when he lost a step because he was one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Switched over to safety and then became a Pro Bowl safety. He was unbelievable. He'd be in my top 5. Not that I know anything else about the other guys you're talking about. Have I ever told you about the Isaac Bruce story with Deion Sanders?
No.
So you know how people talk about Larry Bird was like the ultimate trash talker, and he'd say,
Yes.
hey, I'm going to go over here in this corner. I'm going to pump fake, then I'm going to dribble over here. I'm going to shoot a 3, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then he'd go do it. Prime used to do that with Isaac Bruce during the game. During his rookie season, I think Deion was with the 49ers, he'd say, in the middle of the route, he'd have him like a glove, and then he'd tell him all the things that he just did to let him know, hey, I had you because of this. You raised up right before you're going to break, clear as day. You'll never get open on me all day while you're doing it. And he coached him throughout the game as it was happening. Isaac's talked about that for a bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That certainly adds a layer to Deion Sanders and just his understanding of the game, his understanding of his opponents. Yeah, I got no problem with Deion being number 1 on that list, although I'm telling you, Rod Woodson, the old Indiana boy, has a case. Steve, I think we're all done here. If you're all done, we're all done, and we'll move on to Shemeka Michelle.
Appreciate it.
Oh.
Good show, Steve.
There we go. Good show. He has nothing. When Steve's done, he's just done. He's out of talk. He's out of breath. He's probably got a meal scheduled with JB right now that he's got to get to, lunch with JB. Anyway, don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about racist diets, and we're going to talk about LaTarsha Brown and the fake Noose, and Jasmine Crockett remains extra ghetto. We'll do all of that with Shemeka Michelle. Next. Men, it's time to rise. Our country, our faith, our future, all under attack. I'm bringing the boldest voices to Nashville. Roll Call 3.0 is your call to action. Join me, join Tucker, and let's take a stand together. May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville. I am Jason Whitlock, your host.
Went without so that he could give you an abundant life. Now it's time for you to evade the ego trip so that someone else can live better. Amen.
It's necessary that we decide to become men of character, of godly intent.
He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even you shall faint and be weary. Young men shall utterly fall. Jason, I know you called us to preach off, but I feel like preaching up in here right about now.
All right, welcome back, Shemeka. I got several things I want to address with you. We need a black woman's opinion on Brittney Cooper, LaTarsha Brown, and Jasmine Crockett. Here is Brittney Cooper, and this is an old clip, but it took off yesterday on social media, on X. This is Brittney Cooper. I think she calls herself Professor Crunk instead of Professor Crump. But this is her telling people that diets are racist, and that people have been talking about this over X. Let's play the clip.
The same diets as white women, we lose less weight and we lose it slower, even when we're following the diet, than our white women counterparts. It's literally that the racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
Is that backed by, she's a leftist who believes in science. Do you think that's backed in any science? Has there been a study done that the stress you feel from racism and paying your bills makes it harder for you to lose weight? True or false?
You know, I think we should call her Professor Clump. That's what her name should be, as in the clumps. This was the fattest thing I have ever heard in my life. It's just ridiculous, Jason. I would have been more comfortable if she had said we need to look at our blood types, because there has been studies that specific blood types need to eat specific foods in order to, you know, lose weight or whatever. But to say that because we're Black, we can't lose weight and that diets are racist and we can't have the same effects as white women, it's just silly to me. I've been trying my whole life to gain weight. I don't think that I'm struggling because I'm Black. It makes no sense to me, and she doesn't make sense. This is an excuse. This again goes to a lack of accountability and responsibility. She has not eaten properly her entire life. You know, weight doesn't run in the family. Maybe the way you eat runs in your family. Your bones are not big. We all have typically the same frame when it comes to our skeletal system. This is just silly. No responsibility, no accountability for putting the fork down and pushing away from the table.
There's a level of delusion that is co-signed, accepted, affirmed with this matriarchal feminist culture we built for Black women, that they've taken the freedom that they've been given, that you can say anything, and you can say anything as long as you attribute it to racism, and people will just have to accept it. And Black women have just run wild with it, and you know, people are afraid of them because they don't want to be called racist, nor do they want to trigger them into some level of hostility. And so people are just ignoring them or avoiding them rather than deal with them. And there seems to be a political system or point of view or worldview that wants to use them. And I'll connect this, we'll go to Jasmine Crockett next. It's just like, hey, look, because this is a Black woman, she's allowed to do and say anything, so we'll make her one of the big faces of the Democrat Party, and we'll platform and put her out anywhere because she can say crazy stuff, she can do crazy stuff, she can, you know, in some ways cast herself as the female version of Donald Trump, and if anybody criticizes, we'll just say they're racist. But here she is, I believe yesterday, attacking Governor Abbott in Texas, who is paralyzed, partially paralyzed, and uses a wheelchair, and calling him Hot Wheels. Let's play SOT number 9.
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes.
So this is, I think, some people are pushing back accurate, like, hey, Trump did the whole thing with the read.
It was a lie. The whole thing was a hoax. Go look it up.
It was.
He's done. In fact, that turned the guy that you worked with, Shemeka, what's his name?
Alfred Riley?
No, there was a guy that started one of the...
Brandon.
Anyway, it doesn't matter if I say.
Brandon
thank you.
Stroud.
Brandon Stroud, yes. Turned him. He's turned him Republican because he's like, oh, Trump, he did the thing. He made fun of the guy who's got special needs. And then somebody showed him, they're like, look at these other 8 videos, or whatever it is, of Trump doing this exact same thing when he's making fun of people who don't have special needs. This is what Trump does when he makes fun of people. And you guys have all pretended that it's about him making fun of special needs. The whole thing's a hoax. So Trump never did that.
Got you. Appreciate the correction. Yes. Oh, all right. Shemeka, your thoughts here on Miss Crockett?
You know, I'm going to free a lot of Black women. Not that they even need it, because the ones that it doesn't apply to were never bound in the first place. We understand quantifiers. So when people say Black women, we understand if it doesn't fit, you must have quit, you know, We don't pay attention to that. But I am ready to start calling this class of women exactly what they are. And that we're going to start calling them mutts. Menacing, unruly, thuggish, and thottish. That's what they are. They're no longer black women. These are just mutts. And any woman actually can fall into this category if this is the way that you act, because I am sick of seeing Jasmine Crockett plastered all over social media and people giving her praise for menacing, unruly, thuggish, and thottish behavior. I don't even understand why she's sitting or standing behind a podium with this whole, honey, hot ass. I'm sick of that. The whole wig, the eyelashes, the nails, the cursing, just having to be very ghetto, trashy when we know that this is not how she was raised. She's a mutt. And I'm going to just start calling them like I see them. Sexy Red, mutt. Jasmine Crockett, mutt. Tiffany, the mayor, mutt. They're mutts. And this is how I'm going to refer to them from now on.
I love that you brought Sexy Red into it because, and this will sound somewhat crazy if you haven't been following along, but we are doing to politics what was done to the music industry and done to rap music in particular. Is that, I've lived long enough, I remember when, a lot of these rappers were college educated. We had a rap group called the College Boys. The KRS-One and Chuck D used to be preaching history and rap music, blah, blah, blah. And then the music industry decided that only the NWA gangster ghetto thing is what the industry was going to support and promote. And I'm looking at it happen in politics, particularly on the left, but, AOC's cut from the same cloth. Rashida Tlaib?
Tlaib.
Ilhan Omar, Cori Bush,
she's out now.
She's out now.
Presley.
Yeah, Presley. Yep. And Jamal Bowman. Remember, he was jumping around on stage and cursing. And it's like, man, they're going to do to politics what they did to rap music. And if you're a black or brown politician, there's a level of ghetto-ness that you must incorporate into your political act, or you're not going to get a position on the left. And I was like, I've seen this happen before. I've seen how they took a great, uplifting, fun form of music, rapper's delight, and turned it into wet-ass pussy. Just... And literally Hillary Clinton sitting down with, hey, tell us about WAP and how you made this song, blah, blah. There's a lane that they're pushing all of these black leftist politicians into, and they're happily going, and the paycheck must be good. But that will become the standard. And maybe it's already become the standard. So last one here. This is LaTarsha Brown, and just for future reference, guys, we could have tightened this clip up, I would imagine. I don't know, but anyway, we're going to play the full clip. It's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. She is a city council person that faked. She pulled a Jussie Smollett and put a noose on her desk to claim racism, and police investigated, and only her DNA was on the news. Anyway, let's play this LaTarsha Brown clip.
LaTarsha Brown was charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree, and false reports to law enforcement, a misdemeanor of the 3rd degree.
On January 10, 2025, at approximately 7:11 a.m., Allentown City employee LaTarsha Brown arrived at her office on the 3rd floor of City Hall. At approximately 7:38 a.m., Ms. Brown notified the Allentown Police Department that she discovered what she believed to be a noose on her desk upon arriving at work. Officers assigned to the Community Outreach Unit, Crime Scene Identification Unit, and Criminal Investigations Unit responded. initiating a criminal investigation to identify the individual responsible for placing the noose on Ms. Brown's desk. During the investigation, video surveillance and building access control records were reviewed to identify city employees present on the third floor of City Hall between the time Ms. Brown left for work on the afternoon of January 9, 2025, and her arrival on the morning of January 10th. Those employees were interviewed. Each was asked if they would provide a buccal swab for DNA testing if needed. Every employee agreed, except for Ms. Brown. Initially cooperative, Ms. Brown later requested that the investigation be discontinued. The noose was submitted to the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab for DNA testing on January 14, 2025. On January 24, 2025, a search warrant was approved by the Lehigh County District Attorney's Office for Ms. Brown's DNA, and a DNA sample was obtained that same day. On January 27, 2025, Ms. Brown's buccal swab was submitted to the Bethlehem Regional Crime Lab of the Pennsylvania State Police for comparison with DNA profiles recovered from the noose. On March 10, 2025, the Forensic DNA Division of the Pennsylvania State Police issued a written report indicating that Ms. Brown's DNA matched the DNA profile obtained from the swabs of both the outer surface and inner knotted portion of the noose after it was taken apart. No other person's DNA profiles found on the evidentiary items involved in this investigation. As a result of this investigation earlier today, Detective Harold Bonds of the Allentown Police Department filed charges against LaTarsha Brown at District Court 31-2-01 for the criminal offenses outlined earlier by Chief Roca. Thank you.
This is why we're seeing so many racial hoaxes. And we are seeing the hoaxes because these actual racist crimes, these events, just do not transpire anymore. It just doesn't happen, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, do people potentially say things that could be perceived as racist? Yes. But do people actually say, hey, let me go put a noose, let me go do a cross burning in someone's neighborhood, let me go do something really, really profoundly racist? They don't do it, and I'm going to tell you why. And this is a fact, it's a new thought that I just thinking about this. Because we as black people do so much racist stuff to ourselves that there's just no need. We provide the supply of racism. The Bloods and Crips, why would the KKK go terrorize a black neighborhood when the Bloods and Crips are already doing it? Why would white people put on a minstrel show when black people are already putting on a minstrel show? Well, every rapper has basically cornered the market on a minstrel show, so there's no need for, white people don't have to do blackface. Mm-hmm. We've already done it. And so it's oversaturated with black hostility and degradation of black people that white racists just kick back and say, damn, why do the black people get to have all the fun? There's no room for us to even do it. Man, Snoop Dogg's got it covered. Why do we need to even say the N-word? Black people say it so constantly. I hear it everywhere. It's no fun to even say it anymore because, black person's gonna beat you to it 35 times before you can even get it out of your own mouth. So we now do racial hoaxes and try to frame white people for the behavior that we actually do. Your thoughts, Shemeka?
She's a mutt. Menacing, unruly, thuggish, and thottish. And I agree with you. It's funny because I was just hearing, I know you shared that Sexy Red song and you had something to say about it. I think you called it degeneracy or something. And you're right. As a lot of black people actually embrace the degenerate culture, she was singing about YNS. This stands for Young Niggas. This was really initially an insult on how the young Black men in the community were carrying themselves and the way they were behaving. She turns this, and now all of a sudden it's praise. She's singing about it as if it's something great. These are the men that come out of school, can't read, they can't do math, they're not holding jobs, they're actually committing crimes in the city, yet we are now praising this type of behavior. Mutts. They're all just mutts, and it's really embarrassing that people will actually bob their head and sing along to this and say, oh, it's just music. I don't understand why you all are criticizing. Why can't you just have fun? You had fun in your day, but we have watched the decline of the community. This is a long way from the hip hop, the hip hoppy, you don't stop a rock. It's a long way from that. And we should be able to call a spade a spade. When it's not helping the community, when it's hurting us, when we're seeing these kids grow up and actually have nothing, they're in jail or they're dead at young ages, it is really sad that the leading cause of death of Black men, I think 18 to 35, is homicide. And we still want to keep turning a blind eye. Something is wrong. And it goes back to when you said the delusion of these mutt women that feel like you can say a diet is racist when we know the leading cause of death in Black females is heart disease. We have to really start checking this type of behavior and stop. It's not funny. And we can't just turn a blind eye because it is harming everybody. And it's funny because, you know, you'll have people, I see it in the chat all the time, Jason, oh, all Jason wants to do is talk about Black people. He only wants to criticize Black men. He never has anything negative to say about white people, which we know is not true because you actually do. But I am so sick of us acting like this is some big secret and we need to keep it in the house and not say anything. It's not a secret anymore. We as a so-called Black community, we are oozing pus and blood. Everybody can see it. It's not just affecting us, it's affecting everybody else. When you see these posts on X and you go under the comments and you see what white people have to say about the Black community, everybody sees it. It's not hidden anymore, if it ever was, but it's definitely not hidden anymore. And we need to stop acting as if you can't say anything because they're Black, because of their skin color. No, we are criticizing the behavior. It should be criticized, and they should be shamed. Menacing, unruly, thuggish, and thottish. They're mutts. And people can get mad at me if I had a way to, I might come up with something to say ape. I got tired of saying pavement apes or orangutans, mutts. I'm going to just call it what it is. Be mad at me. I don't care.
I'm doing the same things I've always done. I'm speaking out against racism. And I'm acknowledging the fact that the most racist people in America today are Black people. They're racist against Black people and they're racist against white people. They've put the KKK out of business. The reason why we don't hear about the KKK is because these Klansmen wake up every day and say, damn, Black man already done beat me to it. I ain't got nothing to do today. Why would I go kill somebody when the Crips and Bloods and the Gangster Disciples and the ignorant ghetto Black man is gonna kill himself? Damn, ain't no reason for me to go terrorize the neighborhood. Ain't no reason for me to go call them a nigger because they're gonna call it themselves. They've been put out of business. You know, let's make the KKK great again. Let's put them back in business by putting all the races. Give them their job back. But we've taken their jobs, and so congratulations, guys, and complain about me all you want. TJ, you want to jump into this fire, or you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's to the point where the FBI is having to put now this is the FBI and Democrats, having to put the white supremacy groups out there because there are none.
Yes.
Like all these people with matching watches, and like Joe Rogan had that clip, he's like, how come they're all skinny? How come there's no fat people marching? There's just no fat white supremacists? And so they're having to manufacture it. I will say, too, that I have moved to the point, and probably, my guess is most white people have, probably a lot of black people have. I don't believe a single one of these hate crimes. No. None. Zero. In fact, my first thought is you're a liar. We need to figure out why you're lying and what this whole thing's about, and we need to put you in jail. My second thought is if it's a white guy, you paid him. Because white people don't have the balls to go out there and do this now.
Or the need, or the motivation. It's unnecessary. It's like, well, they've done it, and they've been paid off, and, you know, someone's pulling their strings, and the whole music industry's got their back. Anyway, thank you, Shemeka. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, it's the hair for me. Once I saw the hair, it's like you're not that scared of white people. You're walking around with their hair on your head every day, hiding yours. You're not that scared. It was the hair. As soon as I saw the hair, she's lying. She's not scared. No white person did this to her.
Thank you, Shemeka, and thank you guys for watching. We'll play tomorrow, and we will see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all this moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be, I just wanna be, I just wanna be, I just want